leave and you push the button to go, you see.
Uh-huh.
So well, Kim, I know it's a bit of a rush this week because we were very busy to get this scheduled. It's my fault for not doing it yesterday when I should have done it, and that's part of my reflections of the week. But let's forget that right for now. We're here to talk about coaching and continual learning, and I'm a big believer. Hey Maisie, how you doing? Yeah, I'm a big believer in continual learning and why it's so important, right? So, Kim, what is continual learning and why is it important?
So I think continual learning is about looking at everything we do and saying which of those bits work really, really well and which bits could we do differently. Because often when we think about needing to change, we assume we're going to have to do something really, really big. And yet the reality is it's usually just by constantly going back and just slightly adjusting, that we make the biggest impact. I think it was Edison who said, I didn't create the light bulb. I found 10,000 ways not to create the light bulb. But what he did every time was go back and have a look at, okay, what could I change ever so slightly and let me keep doing that? And I think, I guess my nan always used to say that every day is a school day, and life is just a lifelong journey of learning. And if we keep our minds open to that and we look at every day to say, what am I going to learn today? What am I going to be able to do differently? Then that's how we grow.
Very much so. I'm a big believer in continual learning. I think more people should realize that, when they leave university, leave school, whatever, like the learning doesn't stop. And so many people these days, they get out of university. I've heard so many stories. Yeah. And they get out of university and then they're like, well, you need to pay me 80 grand a year. Yeah. It's like, well, you just got out of university. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but I've got a degree. Yeah. It's like, well, nobody cares. That's what I find quite interesting. And, people need to understand the fact that life is a continual learning process. And every day you need to go through some sort of learning. So, obviously it's important to kind of get the most out of work, to get the most out of your happiness, because obviously, continual learning isn't just about work. It's about hobbies. It's about happiness as well, and how to kind of just control your mindset, right, and remain happy. But I think that's kind of all I've got to say on that. Have you got anything else to add, or?
Well, no, I guess it is. It's our thing that's saying we are constantly evolving. We're constantly developing, and when we look at that, we can actually take elements that we've learned and developed in one part of our life and replicate it somewhere else. And therefore we see that joy actually spreads and things all start to get better. So I think, we can learn something from everybody we meet as long as we're open-minded.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So on to the next one. What's the importance of reflection and analysis in shaping your own methods, progress, and coaching style?
Ooh, good question. And I think it kind of links to the first bit, doesn't it? Which is it's really about looking for the things that have gone really, really well so you can replicate them, and the things that didn't go quite as well as you wanted them to so that you can rectify them. And I think if you constantly are reviewing our performance, if we look at the people that are top of their game, whether they're actors, athletes, business people, politicians, they constantly review, assess, and revamp their performance. They have a look at all the elements so that they know which bits went well, and therefore how do I turn the volume upon those? How do I do them more often, more regularly? And which are the bits that didn't quite go as well as I would have liked them to, and what can I do different? It's why a lot of people have a coach. And I often get told, does that mean you think you're better than us because you're a coach? It's like, no. If the coach was actually better than the person, it would be their name we knew. If we think back again to those actors, politicians, business people, the fact is that we all have blind spots, and we have blind spots for a reason. We're blind to them. We don't know that they're there. So a coach really is able to help stand behind you and see where you get in your own way, shine a light in those dark areas to enable you to find a way through so that you can improve them. And, they say that if we want to be really good at what we do, we shouldn't practice until we get it right. We should practice until we cannot get it wrong.
you're basically talking about unconscious competence, aren't you, really? So that you can basically pretty much do it in your sleep, right? And totally right. So, and obviously, you can coach yourself. So, the question that I just sort of put towards you in analyzing where you're going wrong, you don't necessarily have to have a coach, but you need to understand where you're going wrong. And if you're unable to see where you're going wrong, in the case of a lot of people, they kind of miss that because they're not observing themselves very well. They're only looking at themselves from, their own perspective. And sometimes you need other people to encourage you in life and say, well, actually, we see these amazing qualities that you have. And actually, sometimes people just need a bit of encouragement in life, right?
Yeah, and we live in a world of polarity. So for every up there's a down, for every left there's a right. And the more that we engage other people to find out what their perspective is, the more that we can learn. Because actually, we often have a very distorted view of ourselves, either positively or negatively, whichever one of those is. And it comes back sometimes to those blind spots where actually we can't always help ourselves. And it doesn't mean to say that we have to have a coach, but sometimes we need to have other people that can get involved, like that our tribe that are around us, whether that's friends, family, colleagues, but people that can give us a different perspective. And one of the things I encourage people to do, it's an exercise I did years ago, and it was a real eye-opener. So I had to go and ask a few people that I knew, liked and trusted, that were colleagues or family members or friends. What are the one or two things that you think are real strengths of mine, and what are the one or two areas where I get in my own way? And it was absolutely eye-opening. The feedback that I got almost unanimously from the people I asked was that you are brave and fearless. And I was like, I don't understand. I've lived my life in fear every day. I still do. It's just that I push the fear down and keep trying to overcome it. And they said, well, you've up six and moved around the country for jobs you're not sure that you know how to do, to live in areas where you know nobody. That's like brave and fearless. And I was like, interesting. I would have described it as flighty and a little bit stupid. But imagine how different my life would be if I lived by their labels instead of my own. And having done it, it's allowed me to borrow their labels. So now the next time I'm berating myself for being flighty and a little bit stupid, I go, no, actually, you're just being brave and fearless, and you're putting yourself out there to learn something.
Yeah, well, I'm a big believer in that. I think we're going to regret the things that we didn't do more than the things that we did. You never regret something that you've done. Usually, obviously, there are some regrets, but I think you're going to regret not doing it probably more than you would doing it, right? So, onto the next one. Yeah, how does coaching help us to be better people and leaders of our own lives, and to become more successful business people?
Another great question. So coaching really is just about helping you unlock your answers. The point of it is that you know the answer. It's just that if the right question hasn't been asked, then you can't unlock the part of your subconscious brain that is telling you how to get it done. Sometimes, we need a coach. Sometimes we might need a mentor, someone who's been there before and done it, and therefore can reach behind them and pull us up to those elements. And sometimes we just want to go and learn from people that have done something that inspires us or motivates us. And I think it's just finding what best works for us. And there's lots of opportunities these days for you to get coaching. And it could be from your leader at work. It could be from people that you trust in your, your friendship circle, or it could be somebody externally. And one of the largest growth businesses in the world is the knowledge broking business. We're all short of time and desperate for knowledge. We want to be able to learn, grow and evolve. But if it took you 30 years to learn something, I haven't got 30 years to get to that level. So actually what I want to do is get your condensed, what have you learned? What are the biggest tips? How do you get me from rung 1 on the ladder to rung 4 without having to go through the same pain points? And that's often where coaching can really come in handy. It's finding that person who is going to be able to help you unlock your potential at pace to enable you to get out of your own way and lead the life you want to lead.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, really. But I don't think, a lot of us, we can't actually see what mistakes that we're making. We can't actually analyze the self-talk as well. Like, you might wake up and say something to yourself, but you're not sure like what that actually means. But actually, if you said that to your coach, and they'd be like, well, you know, why are you saying that to yourself? Like, if you're saying that to yourself, like, you're really going to set yourself up for a bad day, right? And that's something that that I'm totally aware of. Like, when I wake up in the morning, if I'm not in the right frame of mind, then I will take action to put myself in the right frame of mind, so I can go out there and do business the way I want to do business, right? And but that's because I've been working with amazing coaches like you, and I'm aware of what the hell I'm saying to myself. Whereas a lot of people, they may not be aware. But you can see it when you're actually talking to someone. I mean, we have a lot of meetings, you and I, with people, and some new coaches, some very experienced coaches, and you can actually listen to the stories that they're telling themselves, and it's very, very interesting. And you can see how far away they are to success, and that is also very interesting. And some people, like, you can look at them and you say, well, actually, I can see that they are like a millimeter away from success. And if we spent like maybe a couple of weeks talking to them, like an hour a week, maybe they would be back on track, and they'd be on the tracks to kind of get to the next stage with their career and their life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like one of the interviews we did the other week where they were talking about the need to course correct, and that actually, and if you think about it from, I think the analogy was a compass on a ship, and it might only be out by, you know, millimeters, like a degree, but that can have an impact on hundreds of miles of being out of kilter if you don't do it. So getting ourselves into that place where we keep recalibrating, we keep coming back and resetting, can really help. Because if not, what happens is something goes wrong, we don't realize we're on the wrong path, and then we keep taking the wrong corrective actions, and we start to spiral. And we know that as individuals, what we think about is what we become. So when we start to feel that doubt, when we start to feel that we're not going to be able to succeed, that we're not going to set our business up, we're not going to grow, we're not going to be successful, we will inadvertently self-sabotage until we make it true.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think without that conscious creative process and the awareness of what people are saying to themselves, you can totally self-sabotage completely. And that's why it's good to work with really great people, and because they can actually understand why you're thinking that and say, well, actually, perhaps you might be thinking that, you know, you're not getting enough clients, or you're not doing what you need to do. But you need to sometimes just stop and look at the situation and say, well, actually, look how far I've come, and look where I've come from. And, you know, you'd never imagine that you'd be at this position and in this place, with all right, maybe some uphill battles to not battles, uphill trajectory to head, right? But at the end of the day, once you get to the top of that mountain that you're potentially climbing, you just realize that there's another mountain that you want to climb, right? And that's half the fun of it, isn't it? You know?
Well, yeah, and obviously every step we move forward changes our perspective, it changes our view, and therefore things can come into focus that we just couldn't possibly have seen before, and therefore we didn't know that there were things that we wanted to achieve or goals that we needed to set for ourselves. I think it's Michael Jordan that said, you don't need to see the whole staircase, you just need to take the next step. And I think that's it. You know, every thing in life is a journey, and we've just got to keep taking that next step and recognizing that we'll get some things wrong, and when we do, we should acknowledge them, apologize, and put them right, and learn from them. And some things will go really, really well, and again, we should acknowledge them and learn from them, because that's going to be how we grow to be our best selves and live our best lives.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Will Smith when he's in that movie with his son, and he goes and he basically knocks a wall down outside the shop, and he basically just says, there you go and rebuild that wall. And I think his son was like 7 years old or 10 years old, and he basically rebuilt this wall, right? And like, that is how to look at goals, look at career goals, look at life goals, exercise goals, just brick by brick, right? Let's just get going, you know, and you got to start as you mean to go on. So thank you, Kim. It's been great, and we're gonna just do 15 minutes today. So thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate you.